Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Dhammapariyesanā. Today is day 27. In today's topic, we'll be discussing about how someone can apply Buddhist practices into his or her life in the face of a non-communicable disease like cancer, which is a very important topic for all of us. You might not be a cancer patient, but one day you might be a cancer patient. So we don't know how we can apply uh, Buddhist teachings in the face of cancer. We might apply Buddhist teachings when we are not into such kind of a thing, disease. So we have to understand how we can really apply this into our life when our life is in the face of such a big thing. So um, it's a great pleasure for me to introduce and welcome our guest today. She is Ruwani Navaratne, who is joining from Maryland, US. Uh, she uh, she's a Buddhist, and she earned her BA in biochemistry at Hood College in Frederick, Maryland, US. While working for a biotech company, she received her MSc in biotechnology from Johns Hopkins University in Maryland. She has also been working as a biochemist for quality control in several biotech companies and currently at a company called, I'm not sure I pronounce well,
Hydrogen.
Quick
It's hydrogen.
Trigen in Germantown, Maryland. Please join me in welcoming Ruwani. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Bhante, for having me.
Okay, how are you, Ruwani, today?
I'm good. I'm
You
good.
good?
Thank you.
Good. Okay, so Ruwani, as we all know, the feeling of being diagnosed with a cancer is really depressing, and it's very stressful kind of a thing, because we think we are not sick that much, but once we figure out that we are diagnosed with a cancer, we kind of like we might blame ourselves. Why me? Why it happened to me? I was a good person. I've been really doing good. uh, in someone's case, let's say that person is a Buddhist or a religious person, that person might blame oneself. I was really spiritual, religious. Why it happened to me? So at the same time, along the anger, depression, stress, there are other bunch of things that can come up in that person's mind. So my first question to you is that uh, you know how did you how did you perceive this feeling of being diagnosed with the cancer? And I think you were diagnosed with the breast cancer, and you can share with us what was the perception you just had. Let's say you were just diagnosed, and how was your perception to that?
Right. In back in November of 2019 is when I got my diagnosis, and I got the call saying I have breast cancer. And before that, of course, my first reaction was I was shocked. I never expected it. I do not have a family history of breast cancer. So I was like, I didn't know where it came from out of the blue. I'm told I have cancer. And the subconsciously in my mind, things were going through, and what I was questioning was why me, and all. And before that, just to give you an example, 1 month before my diagnosis, my husband and I were responsible for the Katina Puja at the Washington DC temple, and it was beautifully done, and we completed it successfully. And then before a month before that, my husband was also a stem cell donor to a relative. So he donated his stem cells, which is a great thing to do. So we did all of these, and then right after the Katina ceremony was done, and in November I got my diagnosis that I have cancer. And my first question is, wow, I did all of that and now I have cancer. So what went wrong? I felt scared, of course, and shocked, and I was questioning why me. Uh, but at the same time, out of all those things, I was trying to figure out. I was when I was questioning why me, then all is at the same time I was thinking why not me, because then I realized there are so many other people who are going through this. It's just not me. And it's, in a way, I felt kind of selfish to think, uh, why should it be me and not, somebody else? So of course my initial reaction was scared, shock, and of course why me
Mhm.
aspect of it.
Like
So
in your case, you said that you were diagnosed with breast cancer, and for a woman to lose, I mean, in terms of a surgery,
yes,
as
so
a
that
follow-up
was
to cancer.
this was yeah. So the scary part was I didn't know what was coming ahead of me, and I knew I had to make all those decisions, a lot of different decisions, and I knew as a person, like I would physically, it would change me emotionally, and so it was a lot of emotions that I was going through, but I think. So although I felt, the one thing I never felt in a weird way was I never felt angry. And I think it later on when I was thinking about it, it made me realize that I think my the sense of like the spirituality, and like as a Buddhist, all the teachings that I've had um, growing up, kind of made me realize that I should not be selfish in thinking why I got it, and instead I should, uh, accept the reality of it, try face it, and then move forward with it, kind of thing. Yeah.
What would you think about the thought many people have, you know, to the notion that they will not get cancer? This is the place they get really upset when they get cancer. So
Hmm.
they maintain a kind of a feeling that I will not get cancer.
Right,
So, but eventually we may get cancer.
right,
So
which
how
is
does someone, understand this too? Because there's a probability that we might get diagnosed, not
right,
just you. So
right.
what could be a good perspective to, maintain about these two?
Right. So, of course, nobody wants to get cancer. So, and it comes out, unexpected, like with my case. So, I think the important thing is that I've learned with my experience is that you need to kind of, first of all, accept this is the reality of life. It's not, that nothing is. Uh, Set in stone, that nothing is ever not, we all go through pain in our lives, and one of these is thinking that you would get some disease like cancer. And then what I learned with my personal experience is that I learned, although you at first you feel scared, you've learned to accept it and think that this is reality. And I think um, it's a waste. I felt that it's a waste of time, that if you don't accept it and you think you keep worrying about, oh my gosh, why did I get it, why me, you're wasting your energy, whereas that energy can be used in terms of calming your mind down. Basically, because I realized that although I felt at the beginning, yes, this is the end of my life, oh my goodness, things are changing, but then it also, I think that it also made me realize that in a way I cannot be selfish in thinking like that, because I'm still a wife, a mother, a daughter, and I have my responsibilities to fulfill. So, and so I cannot give up, and thinking I have cancer, but instead I need to make my mind stronger, and accept it, and do carry on with the treatment, and deal with that at that time. Yeah.
Before I jump into other questions, I think it would be great if you could share with us your story and how it was diagnosed, and what are the things that happened simultaneously, and where you are at now. And then I will ask the rest of the questions, because I think
Sure.
next questions will be related to your story. So I think our uh, friends who are watching this want to know what's going through with you, and they know that you have
Right.
cancer, but where you are at and how things started and all that story, you know.
Right. Well, I was actually one thing I did is I knew it was very important to do regular checkups. So I would always get all my tests done, my physicals done. So during one of these physicals, when they did my first mammogram, they noticed I had a cyst on my left breast, but they knew it was nothing to worry about. They didn't even do a biopsy, so they wanted to monitor it every 6 months. So they were monitoring it, and it was that last in October of 2019 was supposed to be my last 6 month screening, and after, if everything was okay, I was going to go back to the normal schedule of mammograms. So when they did that, and I also felt a lump on my left breast. So and I thought it was part of the cyst. So, and then when they did the screening, they said, I have a new area. That cyst they were worried about. The monitoring was still the same size. It was nothing to worry about. But now I have a new area that seems suspicious, and they wanted to do a biopsy. So then they went ahead and did a biopsy, and then unfortunately, that was the one that was cancerous. So, and then that's when I got diagnosed with breast cancer. So,
And then
uh,
that was in 2019, somewhere in the end.
in November 2019 is when I got the call saying I have cancer. Yes.
Okay, that was just before the COVID-19 hit.
2019. Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
so I wonder
that's
that
when.
how that affects you. I mean, especially when you went into the actual treatment, and the
Yeah.
places could have been a place of a lot of other things too. So
Right. So
yeah, so yeah,
yes, yeah, it kind of out of all the shock, of course, now at the beginning of last year, which is 2020, we were beginning to hear about COVID on top of this. So then, as I was going through my chemo, which lasted all the way till June of last year, this was an added stress that I had to deal with. Was being not getting COVID at the time of my treatment, and trying to be careful with that. And so luckily, my treatment, none of my treatments stopped because of the COVID situation. I was able to continue because they did a very good job of limiting patients and spacing them out. So my treatment never got interrupted because of COVID. But yes, so that was a additional stress that I had to deal with on top of
on
getting
top of this diagnosis.
right.
Ruwani, how did your decisions, got affected with this diagnosis? Like a lot of people, when they diagnosed with a cancer, uh, they are really worried about other things: their family, their parents, paying their utilities, bills, loans, mortgages, and their kids. So I'm just wondering, how did you being diagnosed affect um, you know uh, your decision making at that time? I mean, I guess this is at the end of 2019.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first decision, when I was first diagnosed, I had to go through surgery, and I had to make a lot of decisions. That was actually one of the hardest part of being diagnosed with breast cancer, is all the decisions that you have to make. Things like, do you remove one breast? Do you remove both of the breasts? So what do you do? And luckily, I had a lot of friends. I had a couple of friends who had gone through the same thing I did, so I was able to discuss with them. And me being a scientist, I was trying to minimize my risks of not trying not to ever get it. So, and I made the decision of, getting, both of my breasts removed, so that it, minimize the risk of me getting it back. So, so that was one of the decisions that I had to make. And then from that point onwards, once the surgery was done, from the pathology work that was done, they determined that my further what kind of treatment I needed, which was basically the chemo and the radiation, and then finally the hormone therapy. So luckily, I have the support of my family, my husband, my parents were here, and my kids, so who were able to, I did not have to worry about the financial aspect, all those things in making my decisions. So, and they were very supportive of all the decisions that I had to make.
From a woman's perspective, losing one's one's breast to a cancer might be a very catastrophic thing, right? Especially to the body image awareness. I mean, I'm talking from a woman's perspective.
Yeah.
So what do you think to someone? I mean, this fleeting nature, right? We never know what's going to happen. So what is your piece of advice or thought to someone that this probability can come to anybody, right? So, what do you think someone can understand this thing at such kind of a point?
Right. I mean, of course, it was, like I said, physically it was very daunting because, of course, I was not. It kind of, this disease kind of takes away the womanhood from you, in terms of, losing your breast. And at the same time, during chemo, you lose your hair. And I'm one of those people who had very long hair. It took me over 30 years to, grow the hair. So, and all of a sudden, I was told, oh, I'm going to lose all my hair, and I had to ended up shaving my head. So that was very emotional time, and then, and again, all those feelings of why me, and all those things were coming along. And then it made me realize, well, these are just appearances, things that we look to, but it doesn't change who you are as a person. You may look different, you may feel different, but you're still the same person. So, and I think having that kind of sense of calmness, and I was also meditating a lot during that time. I think that kind of helped me to think, hair and losing your breast, or those are just, things that kind of, it doesn't define who you are in a
Mhm.
way, because so you kind of become more stronger than that, and you kind of try learn to understand that there, the bigger picture of being diagnosed with a disease like this is that you need to become strong, you need to learn to face it and move along, and not kind of give up on, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose everything, and just think negatively, because then that, I think, that can create more problems. So, but I think I was able to kind of see the big picture, in the sense that, I have my kids, my family, and I need to become stronger for them, and kind of try to fight this, and move along with life. And then hair will always grow back. Things like that. So, and like I said, my family was very supportive in being there for me all the time. So that made it easier. So in that sense, I think I was blessed. I still feel blessed to be in this situation in a way.
Ronnie, you've been recovering really well thanks to your good karma and all that support that you've been having. During this journey of experiencing all that, what do you think the worst thing that you experience? I mean, in terms of treatments and mental trauma, and what would you consider to be the worst thing? Even though that this is what it is, but
Right. I think at first I thought after the surgery will be it was a big deal. It was like a 7.5 hour surgery. And you come out of it looking completely different. So I think getting through that, the pain and all that, and then immediately back in January of last year is when I started my chemo, and the chemo was probably I would say the most difficult part for me, because I ended up with several side effects, not feeling nauseous. I was vomiting all the time. I could not keep any food down. I was losing weight. I had body aches and extreme tiredness. And then, of course, the emotional trauma of having to go back to the doctor pretty much every once, twice a week, and going through this pretty much on a regular basis. And I was going through that all the way till June, which is 6 months, and then ended up in the hospital a couple of times as well because of the side effects. And but still, I was able to come over it. And then after the chemo part was the radiation that I had to go through, which ended somewhere in September. So I would say the chemo part was the most difficult, and the losing hair was a little bit, it was emotional at the beginning, but I think after I had to shave my head, um, it didn't bother me anymore, as oh my goodness, because I thought to myself, hair will always grow back, so that's going to be the least of your worries. So the important part is you need to be strong and get better and try to fight this disease somehow. So yeah.
Great. I'm also interested to know how the spiritual part help you in this journey. So I know that you done a Katina ceremony in 2019 to the Buddhist temple in Washington D.C., and before that you've been someone who is offering dana, and you both your whole family involved with the temples. So some people they take it really bad because they think that we've been doing a lot of good things by why it happened to us. But you, on the other hand, you are completely opposite in that thinking. So I'm just wondering, how did the Buddhist practices, apart from the ritualistic aspects of Buddhism, like meditation, perspective, you know, uh, perspectives, and all that, help you to become a more capable person in understanding what's going through in your life?
Right.
How did you
So
incorporate Buddhist things in your journey of recovering from this, thing?
right. So, like you said, throughout my life, my parents, and with my husband, once I got married, we were always involved with the temple, and with and taking part in meditation programs, and having that concept of being mindful. Having that, so I think when I was dealing with this, with all the side effects, I think I told you before, the weird thing is I never felt angry, although I questioned why me and all that. I never felt angry, and I feel like because of the meditation and kind of kind of making my mind stronger to accepting the reality of it. It kind of helped me to calmly, to kind of um, have a calm mind. So the meditation, all that, I think helped me to distract my mind and focus on the bigger picture, and made me realize that I cannot question. Yeah, although I was involved with the temple and did all these good deeds. Like I said, although I felt why me, and then I thought to myself, why not me? Because there are a lot of people out there who are dealing with the same disease. So in a way, like I said before, I felt like in a way it was kind of selfish of me to think, why me. uh, so instead I should focus, and I think the spiritual part and then like the meditation part helped me to kind of become stronger and in a way confident that I want to fight this disease, and to kind of make me. It was in a way kind of I took it as a challenge that I need to fight this, so that because I still have a life ahead of me. I need my family's there, my kids are there. I of course I want to be part of all that in the future coming years. So my best way to get through this was that having that calmness in me to think, okay, which enabled me to become strong and confident to like, you know, be be deal like, and also in a way to kind of accept the reality that okay, this is a real disease. You cannot pretend. And the best thing is, instead of wasting your energy on thinking why and all that, it's best to use that energy to focus on the treatment, to get through it as fast as possible, so that you can kind of go on with your and come to some kind of normalcy and um, start living your life again. So that so definitely the spiritual aspect is what really I believe is what kind of helped me to get through my side effects and things like that. Um, and I have to say, although I felt like chemo was the worst part that I went through, when I look at it now, like a year later, I still feel blessed because I know there are other people out there who are going through much harder times, and I feel like now I come to the understanding that all those good deeds I did, the good things, maybe this is the result I have, in that I did not have to suffer too much with and I was able to overcome the side effects. So that kind of built my confidence that the spirituality and the mindfulness helped me to deal with come to this place where I am right now.
Roni, I wanted to add something to what you said. Uh, in Buddhism, there are two types of worlds. The first world is cosmological world that we all know, the continents, countries, and so on and so forth. The other world is internal world. Buddha always picked up that internal world. Now, when one deity called Rohitasa came to see the Buddha and asked Buddha a question, can we go to the end of the universe? And then uh, the same deity was explaining a story that he did in a previous life. He was a very powerful, what do you call, an ascetic, and he had this, what do you call, spiritual powers to levitate. So he wanted to skywalk. So he started his skywalking from the Eastern Ocean to the Western Ocean. It's not Pacific Atlantic. It's something way bigger than those oceans. And he is saying that his one foot, when he set one foot on the Eastern Ocean, and the other foot is putting on the Western Ocean. See, uh, the distance of that, even that what do you call, walk. But what happened? He only stopped for a meal and for other things. Uh, but what happened was that he died on the way. And then the Buddha said, I wanted to know. Now he became a deity next life. So he came to see the Buddha. I wanted to know, can someone really go to the end of the universe? And Buddha said, that is not really useful. I know it's good for a scientist, good for research to find out with their facilities, but to end the suffering in terms of the liberation, nibbana, the Buddha said, your world, exact, precise world, lies in you, in this one fathom body. So now, when we are very healthy, we think that the world is outside, and we are self-centered in a way to react to outside world. But when something happens like a cancer, or a disease, hit us, then we tend to understand. I mean, I'm not referring to you. I mean, It could be a mental thing, it could be a physical thing. Then we understand the real world is not outside, it is inside of us, that I have to manage my way of looking at this thing. I have to manage myself. I have to look at this differently. And I was used to look at this way, that way. But the real world exists in me. My whole world collapsed with this trauma, stress, disease. So that's the kind of perspective the Buddhist teachings talk about. So now I come to a point to talk about pain. Now, when a wound, you know, uh, starts somewhere in our body, or when something related to happens, and we feel that there is a pain, uh, you know, little to more pain. When a disease like cancer hits us, there's a different type of pain. So pain is a normal thing to all of us. But the problem is managing pain. In one of the suttas called Satipatthana Sutta, Buddha asks us, we need to deconstruct ourselves from the pain that is related to the body, because pain is a part of Vedana. Vedana is a part of the five aggregates: Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vinyana. Rupa means matter, Vedana means feelings, Sanya is perceptions, Sankara is formations, and Vinyana is consciousness. So pain is a part of this combination of five aggregates, and we call this five aggregate a person, animal, whoever. So Buddha asks us to think about, if there is an unbearable pain while you are on medication or whatever thing, you should be able to deconstruct you from pain. You, I mean, you call this five aggregate as being your body, but pain is a part of that body. So at the same time, pain is also impermanent, and nobody is ever painful. And in your journey too, and you just shared with us, and you had the worst pain at the time when you were experiencing chemotherapies, right?
Right.
So pain management is a bigger issue in today's world, and people take a lot of painkillers. I mean, which they are pretty bad. They have no choice of not taking those painkillers, these
Right.
medications, and they kind of like addict to these painkillers over time. But I understand in Buddhism, pain is more, uh, you know, in a bigger picture, pain is something that not only comes from the body but also from our mentality, and there is a certain way that we could do to minimize our pain. So when it comes to pain, do you see any connection between your Buddhist practice, I would say meditation, mindfulness meditation, or other spiritual practice, and there's a way that you can minimize or calm down your pain mentally? I mean, I'm not talking about physical stuff, that's up to science and medicinal things. Have you ever, uh, tried out any spiritual things, meditation kind of things, to see your pain so that it help you?
Right. Yes, definitely. So even the times that I was going through the chemo, and there were times that I couldn't even get up from bed. I couldn't eat anything. I didn't have the energy, but I would I would put some sermons from Buddhist sermons that, some gathas that I would listen to, and that kind of during that
You mean
time,
chanting, right?
chantings, yes.
Mhm.
So that kind of helped me to kind of forget about the pain and the discomfort for a while, and it honestly calmed me down a lot. And so that's why I said, when I look at the bigger picture now, and I go back, try to go back, and I think, really the side effects that I had were now kind of minimal, in the sense that I think that spiritual mind and having the like a way of thinking optimistically, kind of helped me to eliminate that pain. So I was in that's why I still think I'm blessed, because of that feeling that the spiritual and all the meditation, that it helped me a lot to cope with this, for sure.
Mhm. Roni, this is a very important part of the discussion. Now, what are your what are your piece of advices for someone, suggestion for someone who already diagnosed, who will be diagnosed in the future for any cancer? What can they do to minimize their pain in terms of spiritual side aspect?
I
Can you
think
list out a couple things?
Yeah, definitely. I think as well as getting regular checkups done. I think that part is fair. But once you do get diagnosed or with anything, any kind of disease or anything traumatic, I think the important thing is do not be scared. I know a lot of people are very scared, and but then if you really think about it, like use your mindfulness and kind of the calmness of your mind to think of the bigger picture. I think then you'll see that you cannot stop your life. So first of all, do not be scared. I think you should accept what the reality is, and try to do all the treatment that is available while you practice meditation and mindfulness at the same time. Don't, of course, neglect your treatments. Do whatever needs to be done, but at the same time, have the do not think negatively. I think always the positive attitude is very important in trying to overcome the pain, the side effects. And then like I said, for me, I think because of all those, the Buddhist kind of thinking, I felt like that it was not time for me to think that, selfishly, why did I get it, all that, but instead use that energy to, try to get stronger, be confident, and kind of get better, so that you still have all that life ahead of you, in terms of, for me, like looking after my kids and spending more time with them and my husband. So I think the biggest advice is don't be scared. Just do your research, find out all the facts, and then just deal with it and then move on, because it's not a time that you should just give up and think that that's the end, and it definitely isn't. So yeah.
So giving up is a failure uh,
Yes.
in this
Yeah.
case.
Yeah. And it's not worth thinking, using that energy to go to a negative place, because you have so much more that you can do. And so that's why, I always thought to myself, while I was going through that one day, I think it's important to bring awareness. And I'm grateful for you to giving me a platform to do that as well, is to educate people on this disease, and what option, there's so many options available. And at the same time, having a spiritual, like meditating, all that kind of balances it out, and that you can overcome this eventually.
Ruwani, this is more likely a stereotype, but I think still people believe in some ways now. Some people, especially who have this Buddhist background, they think if something happens, something like this to them, they think this is totally from a previous bad karma. Of course, in the Buddhist teachings, Buddha clearly denied that everything doesn't happen through the past karma. Then, if everything happens through the past karma, then your actions never make any difference, and you have no diligence, you have no enthusiasm doesn't work, energy doesn't work. So at the same time, he denied another two misconceptions about karma, about what happens to us in our daily life. One is everything happens due to karma, and everything happens due to superior person, the god or someone, and everything happens randomly, ad hoc. So uh, even in today's Buddhist perceptions, people think if something happens, oh, this was my bad karma, and I had to do more good karma. Perhaps it was not the bad karma; it was their way of lifestyle, that they have been maintaining this lifestyle not in a proper way. Maybe a bad karma, but what do you have? What are your thoughts to someone who is always painting with the same brush called karma? for
Mhm.
every experience that they are having, especially when it comes to something like what you experience, cancer. So is cancer something, I mean, this kind of a thing, like a trauma, what are your thoughts? I mean, I have my own way of looking at it, but I'm just wondering, being someone who is so much into the Buddhist things, how do you see this thing? Do you think that this is totally from a karma, or this is something that happened randomly? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so that is one of the first things that come to mind is, oh my goodness, I got this because of my bad karma from a previous life or something. What did I do wrong? And I think it's easy to go think like that, um, but I think if you, like you said, if you try to think everything happens because of bad karma, then
There's no value of
there's
energy,
no end
enthusiasm,
to that.
anything, right?
Yeah, and then and for me, because I'm also a scientist, so I feel like there are certain things in the lifestyle, in the way we live in this life, that could have contributed to it could be the environment, it could be food, it could be anything really, and it would be hard to pinpoint and you know
Yeah, single out anything, right?
right, right. So and then um, so you cannot question or it's and think, or it's bad karma, and it can happen to anybody at any point. And I know personally a couple of monks, here, one of them who's also was diagnosed with cancer, and I thought about that, and I think, well, he got it too, and he's
Yeah.
the monk, so why did he get it? So I think so that kind of mindfulness also kind of made me realize that you cannot question it and blame it on karma. And that's why I think accepting the disease and kind of the seeing the reality of it is important, and to kind of move forward with a positive attitude. So
Don't you
yeah.
think people take the benefit of the doubt? Like they are more into doubt. I mean, they are struggling with the benefit of the doubts. I mean, they never know, others either. So I think this is where they are succumbed to this kind of a thinking.
Right. And I think maybe sometimes if people want to find some kind of blame or point, it's easier for them to say, oh, it's because of bad karma.
Mhm. And this
But
is a part of that too, right?
right, right, right.
Okay.
But really, could it be the lifestyle you were living? Maybe,
Yeah. Who
maybe
knows?
you were exposed to chemicals, or I don't know, some, or the food that you're eating, or and it's sometimes it's genetics too. Like it can be hereditary. So, but you can never know why exactly you end up with
Mhm.
this. But the thing is, anybody can get it at any point, unfortunately. But I think, but the important thing is to use, have that mindfulness, and I think that help. At least it helped me to kind of think of it from the bigger perspective.
In conclusion, Rooney, what do you have to share with us?
Well,
Your last words to say in this interview.
well, first of all, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity
You're
to talk
welcome.
about this personal experience. And I think, like I said, my main goal is to bring awareness to people about the disease, and at the same time, practicing meditation, having a spiritual mind definitely helps a lot in a journey like this. And My advice is, if you ever come to a situation like mine, yes, it's normal to be scared and question all those things and go through the emotional, mental, physical things, but I think it's very important to kind of have a positive attitude and uh, try to make your mind stronger, to and think of what who you're living for, in a way. If you have family, friends, think goals that you want to achieve. So I think your main perspective would be to your main goal would be to go through the treatment, try to do whatever you can, and then come to a place where you can kind of live with some normalcy and go on with life pretty much. And it kind of reinforced the fact that you cannot stop doing good deeds. You cannot stop being compassionate or help people, just because you ended up with something like this. I think it kind of reinforced the fact that the more you do good deeds in this life, and I truly believe, because perhaps maybe because of those good deeds that we were doing over the years, maybe this is why I was able to still overcome the difficult parts of the chemo. But still, I'm still in a good place right now, I believe, compared to some other people. So I feel like in that sense I still feel very blessed. And I think the spiritual journey really helped me a lot to overcome that.
Great. And Roni, what I personally learned from you is that acceptance, self acceptance, is a big thing to many. So I think that's one of the biggest things to many. They don't accept themselves. I mean, especially from that view, they wanted to view themselves from others. So this is a big problem. And the second thing is, this blaming other people for one's issues, right? So if people can really tap into their inner self, yeah, higher inner self, they will understand that I have to accept myself and I don't need to be viewed by other people all the time.
Right.
Because a lot of people, they think that I have to be viewed from other people, looks, other things, potentials, right?
Right.
So if you can self accept, that's a great way of looking at this thing. At the same time, you know, go for the treatments and trust the science too.
Yes,
Uh,
definitely.
because you have to trust your doctors,
Yes.
medical system. Some people don't trust them; they're gonna blame
Mm.
them too. At the
Right.
same time, trust about your karma, but you don't take karma as the only cause of what's happening, and you are not trying to stop doing a good karma anymore. You're gonna keep continuing your good things. You are not doing good karmas just to get rewards back. You are doing good karmas because they are good, they are
Yes.
really beneficial, they are soothing our mind, they are helping our mind clear and all that.
Right. Definitely.
Ruwani, and we hope that you will have this full recovery in the next couple of months. That's my wish. That's the wish of all of us who are watching this.
Thank
Thank you, Ruwani, for
thank
accepting this invitation in a short time.
thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. And the folks who are watching our program, our interview today, thank you so much for tuning today. And I hope that you learned a lot of things from someone who been experiencing this trauma, cancer, and the encouraging words, both scientifically, spiritually. Now, normally people just choose one or the other, science or spirituality, but you kind of combine these to a certain place so that we have this healthy balance mindset, so we can balance out this. There's so much that we can receive from scientific things as well as spiritual things, so we have to balance out these two and then to make our perspective. Thank you so much and stay tuned, that we're going to be seeing you in another episode with Navapariyasana. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Have a good morning. Thank you.